When we left you last, we were by the lake in the Ardennes forest, and whilst it was a beautiful park up and we loved it there were no facilities and we ran out of water again. So we decided to head on out in search of our next park up, and we arrived in Abe, or Habes, if you're really butchering the pronunciation there, a wonderful spot next to this river. It was gloriously sunny and we were extremely British and did that thing of parking up and making a cup of tea.
Cup of tea in the scorching midday sun. Very British.
First things first and all that. We absolutely adored this place. It was a beautiful little town. We loved just walking up the riverside path. My husband and daughter went for a bike ride along there. The town itself was tiny and adorable. It had the best bakery or boulangerie, the absolute best baguettes. They were actually award-winning that I've ever eaten in my life, and it was like a 1 minute or maybe even 45-second walk from where we'd parked, so it was absolutely ideal. It was just so lovely settling into a bit of a slower pace here, and it was such a pretty place. It just made it very relaxing and felt very French, and exactly the kind of like French van life that we've been hoping for in so many ways. So we spent a good couple of days here. There was a 3-night maximum stay, but we parked up. Didn't know exactly whether we'd stay the full 3 or not, but really enjoyed our time and just barbecued and went for walks and generally enjoyed the scenery. During this time, we actually finally managed to sort the van out. So it was the first place that we'd kind of set ourselves up with any sort of outside space. It meant that we could take things out of the van and get things organized. So life inside of the van was starting to feel a little bit less hectic and difficult and a little bit more normal. Also, if you watched last week's episode, you'll know that really it was here that I started to get into my rhythm and routine again with my morning mindset time, and it just felt so good. However, we couldn't stay here forever. We actually only stayed 2 nights in the end. We were feeling a little bit like picking up and moving on because while it was beautiful, we couldn't go into that river, and when you're really hot, sitting and looking at a body of water that you can't go into is a special kind of torture that we've come to recognize on this trip. So we just parked up in Nancy, and it's free to park because it's Sunday. We're just here breaking up the journey on the way to our next park up, and I read that there is incredible Art Nouveau architecture here, so we're going to go have a little wander, stretch the legs and check it out. Come with us. It was such a beautiful, city actually. Really stunning Art Nouveau architecture. Really lovely place, quite quiet. It was a Sunday when we visited. We really enjoyed just mooching about, taking in the architecture, but it was very hot. And it felt quite bustling, even though it was quiet on a Sunday. We hadn't been in any cities as yet. So we'd been on the continent and in the van, generally in very rural places. And it felt like quite a shift and change of gear. And although it was a very lovely place, as you can see, so pretty, so Instagrammable, we were all quite ready to leave after an hour or two of walking around, and we just wanted to retreat back to the countryside. I feel like we weren't yet ready for any kind of hustle and bustle. We were still just really, really craving a ton of nature. After that hectic time packing up and leaving the UK, we hadn't fully unwound, and I think we were just really needing that tranquility and nature to do that. Our next park up was just so epic, so beautiful. My favorite, I think, so far, and that was Lac des Corbeaux, the Lake of the Crows. It reminded me so much of Lake Louise in Canada, which has a special place in my heart, and it was just so beautiful. I cannot describe how stunning this place was, and to be able to park there next to the lake for free was just an absolute joy. So we very much savoured this time by this lake. The lake was swimmable, yay, because it was super hot, and we enjoyed everything that the surroundings offered us. Morning. Just had a shower and we are going for a hike. We stayed here last night next to this lake, and apparently there's a really cool hiking loop that goes up the other side of the lake that we can see from our side. There's a rock high up on the kind of like mountain hill, and it goes up past there and back down, so we're gonna go and check it out. One of my absolute favorite things to do is an uphill hike. I don't know why, I just love it. And if it's through the trees, so much the better. So this ticked all of those boxes for me. I love getting kind of a bit hot and sweaty, climbing uphill, and then arriving eventually at a view. It's just my jam, what can I say? So this didn't disappoint. There was a circular loop around this lake, but around and up to a rock that we could see from the side that we were typically sitting at, where we parked at, and where we would get into the lake itself. So it was on the opposite side and up on the top of the hill there. So we went on this beautiful walk. The smell of the pine in the forest was just divine, and we had a really beautiful day hiking around there and just enjoying those like turquoise waters. I don't think my camera really does it justice, but it was just all kinds of pretty. Let's make it look like we're actually people who enjoy hikes without complaining each other. And let's be real, there was a fair amount of complaining from our daughter, because that's real life as a family, right? One of the things that we're kind of considering an aspect of homeschooling is pushing her outside of her comfort zone and helping her acclimate to discomfort and not always labeling it as bad or wrong. I'll let you know when we get there. I mean, just look at this view. Is that breathtaking or what? 10 out of 10 recommend if you find yourself in this area of France. Definitely check it out. It is just spectacular. We did it. Say we made it. It was a hot and sweaty walk, but just 100% worth it. I'll be using that photo in my marketing. And then afterwards, we headed back to the van. I did a little bit of editing. So we have a barbecue, but we weren't able to use it because of the risk of forest fires, understandably here. But we have this induction hob that's portable. So we'd picked up some organic merguez sausages. They're not hot dogs, don't mistake them. I hate hot dogs. From the market, and had them for dinner before an evening dip in the lake. While we stayed here, we went in the lake at least twice a day, if not 3 times. It was just so wonderful. It was like 10 seconds across the little car park where we parked to the edge of this lake, and it was cool and beautiful, and most of the time we were in there pretty much on our own. It was just delightful. So yeah, family swims were the perfect end to the day. To me, this is the dream, just being in nature. Swimming, there's something about being in water, a bit of wild swimming. I absolutely love it. I find it just resets my soul, and this is really the van life that I'd been hoping for, just finding these incredible places, hanging out and enjoying the tranquility and being in nature. I mean, that's the dream for me, right? Something I'm finding interesting about van life, and I'm reflecting on this as I'm editing this, is that it's a little bit bittersweet, because the trade-off for the sense of adventure and exploration and being able to move on and see new places is that you leave special places behind. And this was one of those unique places that I think is going to just be forever written on my heart. And I feel a little bit regretful just looking back. I feel like, should we go back? Should we loop back round, head back to that part of France and go there again? You know, it feels like a little bit of like yearning for the places that like we've been. And I guess that's going to be something that I'll have to and we'll have to adjust to. And we couldn't, again, stay here for too long. We stayed for a couple of nights, but with no facilities, we have, to top up water and empty toilets. These are just the realities of van life. And so it was time to move on again, but we were really craving staying somewhere for a little bit longer. So join me next week, find out if we managed to achieve that and where we ended up. Go and live your dream life. Yours is possible too. Bye for now.